欢迎收听杂物间，
You are listening to the Storage Room,
你最好的口袋朋友。
your best pocket friend.
In the last episode, we learned a little about Michael and Michael's view towards the family dynamics and also the attachment and detachment and everything about that. So in this episode, we're going to learn a little bit more about Michael. So Michael, we're going to have the pop quiz. Strawberry or watermelon?
Strawberry.
All right, gay or straight?
Straight.
Well, you hesitated. Okay, so cats and dogs. Cats or dogs?
I would both. I would say both.
Okay, beer or wine?
Wine.
All right. Mark, how do you like this?
well, I'm thinking answers to myself actually, but I'm just very curious. Like Michael, why are you so mysterious, right? I feel like this is a obviously it's recorded, but I still want to know like why you're putting up this. Why
no,
you're
no,
putting
but what
up
do you want to
this?
know?
What do I want to know? Like how old are you?
Everybody knows I reached 40 a couple of years ago.
Okay.
Lincey knows that. A lot of people know that. Yeah.
Oh, I heard somebody say he's only 25 or something.
That's a different episode. That's a different
Oh,
episode.
now you're 40. Okay, wow.
You know what? I love. You know what? Sometimes in the 抖音平台，有一些那个9宫格嘛，9宫格有一些相亲的这些什么9宫格嘛，我有的时候去看，然后有一个人说的特别好，他说 I'm not gonna ask you if you're single or not， 就是我不会问你是单身还是不单身，对吧？你到了这个9宫格，你上了这个麦，你就是单身。I love how it said like we can change our 就是在这些社交平台，我发觉就是真的我们是可以建立一个非常非常不一样的人设哈。这没有对跟错，但是我觉得这个其实也是一种非常好的一种自由的状态。就比如说我如果想把我自己包装成一种什么样的人，我觉得真的是可以的，这也是我们思想的一种解放。因为有的时候我们在现实生活中是很那种很紧的，对吧？就是有点不透气的那种样子。所以说有的时候这种平台我觉得也可以做一个人设。以前我对人设这个词总是持一种很贬义的这种心态，但是我现在觉得还是 OK 的，我一些场合还是 OK 的。
Well, I just thought about that term persona. For myself, I'm pretty much the same person, online, offline. The way I make friends, the way I, show care, the way I present myself. It's very difficult for me to separate and create a very different persona from the real world. So if you actually meet me one day, this is exactly how I treat people and my friends. This is how I express myself. But I think that you're probably talking about a persona that people talking or pretending to be someone else that he or she is not. That, he's a white collar, but actually he's a blue collar, right? He's in the modeling business, but actually he's just a Uber driver, right? I think that's something that I really don't care. I love people. I love to hear what people have to say. I enjoy meeting new friends that actually have nothing to do with me in real life and have a jobs that I never heard of or interesting relationship problems. I love that. I enjoy that conversations that probably have nothing to do with anything else but that emotional issues, but that bad breakup or that work problem or, why your dad yell at you, right? Instead of, his last name is blah, blah, blah. He's from where he grew up. I don't really care any of that. I love the moment. I love the person. Everything else is just nuance to me.
So I would label it as a very curious person then. So Michael's
I am.
quite curious, right?
I am.
You're curious of the other person. You're curious what they have gone through, what their life is, up and downs.
See, now we can play this game that I play a lot. Is actually describing each other.
Let's do it.
That's I always have fun with this, right? So, for example, I can describe what I see Lincey, and I'm going to describe Mark how I see Mark. Now, that might not match 1% of who you are or how you perceive yourself, right? But it's very interesting to provide that little mirror that you didn't really do it on purpose to build a persona, but that's how I see it from all this couple of years of conversation. So, Mark, you want to start, or Lincey, that I describe how I see you guys?
I don't know how to play it. You get started.
Let's start with Lincey then. Michael, you can describe Lincey.
Lincey has psychological problems. I think that
Harsh.
she's very. I'm going to go negative first.
啊，
So this is how I talk to my employees as well.
先抑后扬，同学们，先抑后扬。等一下，
Right, so-
待会儿就夸我了哈。
So, well, well, you do have psychological problems, just like anybody else. I do too. So
Right.
it's not unique.
Uh.
I think that you are a very loving person. You're very loving, but at the same time, you don't know how to love. The reason that you don't know how to love is because that you hold on to your past bad experience in relationships, including family and loving relationship. So you hold on to it very tight. So a lot of loving person is very forgetful, right?
Mhm.
For example, I am very forgetful. I can't even, always having a hard time matching the name to the face. I'm very forgetful for things that I don't really like, that has no value in my life. But in a way that I see you actually hold on to a lot of toxins in life, right? You don't need medication. You just have to learn to let go. That's all. So that also manifests into how I see you as well on another point. That is that you're overcautious in many things. Overcautious about meeting people, overcautious about new job, overcautious about new food. I mean, it's tough for you to break pattern. That's how I see you, right? So the last thing I want to say to how I see Lincey is that I actually would love to have you as a friend in real life. You're a crazy person in a way, but I love that craziness, right? I love that little craziness. I love that little imperfection. And it's a compliment, I know, but I don't say that to many other people online. I don't meet people online, but you would be one of them that if I could, I would meet, right? So last thing I want to add how I see Lincey is I think Lincey's probably going to end up alone for a long time. You're going to be saddened by it. You seem to have a very decisive moment that you want to be alone. And I'm quite disappointed in that, right? I'm quite disappointed in that because you have actually a lot to offer that you don't even know that you can offer to your lovers or your husbands or your partners, right? You have a lot to offer than you think.
All right. I'm gonna say.
Well,
I'm not gonna-
before Michael moves on to me or however the description, I want to ask Michael questions about Lincey, right? So do you think Lincey's attractive? I like to be superficial.
I think Lincey is attractive.
Do you think that in real life that you would consider, if you obviously assuming you're single, right? Or not single, I guess. Would you consider that in different scenario, different situation that you would consider, let's say, form as some kind of relationship with her? I mean, I'm talking about a romantic relationship, not the friendship.
I don't have an answer until I met that person or Lincey in real life. I really don't have
Well,
that
that's
answer.
well, I'm gonna push you on that, right? So yeah, we are not. But I'm just saying from what you know so far, right? You described Lincey as crazy, as have some psychological issues, but you want to see her, among all the online friends that you had, but you want to see her in real life. So, that says something. So would you form a romantic relationship with her from what you know
Until
so
I meet
far?
her, I'm open to that. Until I meet her, yeah.
So
Oh,
you're
he's
open to that.
he's being very cautious. He knows that a lot of streamers are using the filters. A lot of stream guys don't know about that. So now I get the reason that why he just hesitated, when I asked the question.
It is possible,
Yeah.
Mark. It is possible. Lincey is just a 55-year-old fat man.
Oh
You don't
yeah,
know
it's
that.
possible.
You
It's
don't know that.
possible. It's definitely possible. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about Mark? What's your
All
impression
right.
towards Mark?
Come on. Attack me.
I actually honestly didn't like Mark at the beginning. I thought that Mark was pretentious, over polite, always try to be neutral. That's my first impression, right? I don't think we had that sort of a long conversation until later on. I think at the beginning we bumped into each other quite a bit, but we never had long conversation until a bit later. And the way I see Mark, um, I still think Mark is a bit pretentious because I don't trust nice people. I don't trust nice people. So there's a part that Mark might be hiding. Okay, because I haven't seen Mark, curse. I haven't seen Mark outburst anything. I don't see Mark say, "I don't like," blah blah blah. I never see that, right? So personally, I think that's a bit suspicious.
Too nice to
Okay,
be true, basically.
exactly. Second thing I see Mark is he's a loving person for most of the context in his real life. Um, he's very negotiable. Um, he's very mildly mannered, unlike me. I'm very confrontational. I speak my mind. Mark doesn't. Mark doesn't speak his mind. Mark wants to be the good guy. And it's wonderful to have a person like that in one's life. Is conflicts usually have no value, right? Conflict doesn't solve problems, they create problems. I think that Mark can handle conflicts. Mark sometimes don't even see conflicts, and that's what makes Mark a warm person to me, right? Mark is the last person to insult somebody. Mark is the last person to call somebody out, right? So that warmth is quite rare. That warmth is really rare. But in a way that compared to me, I don't really care how you feel, before I say that to you. I don't care. Right? But Mark does, right? The third thing I see Mark is he's very resilient in relationship. I think at work or within his family, he's really resilient. He doesn't give up easily. He deal with problem in a very unique and successful way. Many people are not problem solver. Okay, I think I see Mark as a problem solver. He make deals. He calm people down. Now, the last thing I want to say that how I see Mark is that I think Mark might be a psychopath that he didn't even know because he bottomed up all this shit inside of him. That he's nice and sweet and good and neutral, but he could be a psychopath. We don't know. I mean, he's probably a serial killer that probably poisoned a city. We don't know that. So that's what most of the murderers seem, right? The nicest neighbor. I don't even see him having a problem. He walks dogs every day and nice to children, but he murdered 18 people for the last 5 months, right?
And I
So there's a
buried them
potential that
in
I
my
see that.
backyard, in my 15-acre backyard.
Yeah.
Now I'm curious. How do you
Well,
describe
thank
yourself?
you. Thank you, Michael. Yes. How are you describing yourself,
How do you
Michael?
describe yourself?
No, after you.
What do you mean by after me?
After you describe me.
Oh my God. You know, the first word that popped up in my mind is daddy. In Chinese, it's 爹位. Like you just cannot stop educating people.
Yes.
No matter how people think about you. You just want to educate people no matter what. And you just like you don't care about people's criticism. That takes a strong heart to do that, right? And that's the first impression that I had towards you. And the second one was pretty different because you guys, especially you and Mark, you guys are the ones who were there when I seriously needed companionship and support. You guys were there. So like, even though Michael, you said very crazy stuff, even though you just said really mean words to people sometimes, but I know that you are a really reliable person. I know like a lot of people may not believe in that, but I do think you're a very reliable person. I do have a little confession to make. Every time when you and Mark appeared in my chat room, I felt like I just felt relieved, you know? Like I feel safe every time when you guys are there. Right? So that's how I feel about you. And then you're mysterious, of course we know. And there's one chance that I've seen your picture, but you somehow you just block your eyes or anything. But the thing is, most of the time I'm not really like I don't really care that who I am talking to, but it's almost like it's a soul. I see a very precious kind of soul there. And I'm talking to this person, and this person has all kinds of, capabilities to do all kinds of things. And you're that kind of person. And that's Michael. And about Mark, oh my God, Mark. Mark, even though you describe Mark as a serial killer, but the thing is, I know that probably for a lot of cynical guys, you guys would describe Mark as a like pretentious kind of person, but I've never thought about that because I do think Mark is being very sincere the whole time. All right. And I still remember a conversation that we had, Mark, that I was talking to a monk earlier, right? The monk claimed that he was some kind of, very important person there, right? So I just started to hold my doubts towards this person. But Mark just said, no matter what, why do you have to judge at the very beginning? You just listen to this guy. You just listen to what this person said and try to comprehend what he is delivering, right? And then you get the information and you will decide whether this information fits you or anything. You don't seriously have to get yourself into this kind of doubting everything and trying to make yourself confused all the time. And Mark is the kind of person who is very open-minded. I have to say that, Michael, Mark is even more open-minded than you. And then we have been through a lot of the shows earlier. We had at least 4 podcasts recorded earlier. And then I actually, when I was recording the show, I was observing how Mark was behaving during the show. And Mark is a kind of person, he's kind of like a sponge, he's kind of like a sponge. He absorbs everything out there and he will select what is the right thing for him. And that is the kind of quality I have never seen from anybody around me. So that's the part I seriously want to learn from Mark, right? So at the same time, Mark is an angel, I have to say. And Mark was actually trying to encourage me to embrace the changes, right? And especially when it comes to the relationships and stuff. And I still remember Mark said, try it. If you don't try it, how do you know it's not a thing for you? And eventually I tried and it's not a thing for me. And then, well, at that moment, I just realized, okay, if I never tried it, I would be thinking about it. I would be making myself confused all the time. So that's the fastest way to solve the problem. Just do it. That's all. And that's what I learned from Mark. And that's the impression of Mark.
I actually
SpongeBob
have a
Mark.
very SpongeBob. Actually, I don't mind that. I like how you describe me. Actually, Sponge. I do think sometimes you guys both your observations are actually quite true, right? But anyways, you know, before I talk about me, but I obviously have to reciprocate what Michael had mentioned. I actually, Michael had used 3 words to describe me, which I'm gonna use the same word to describe him, right? So number 1, he said I'm pretentious. I think Michael is very pretentious. Number 2, that Michael described me as very warm person. I want to describe Mike as a very warm person as well. I'll explain later. And number 3, Michael has described me as a very reliable person, and I'll use the same on Mike. So let me just elaborate a little bit, right? So why I think that actually Michael is pretentious, not pretentious in the way of mannerism, but I feel like at the very beginning, Michael, I never make a judgment on the person until I think I have enough of a time and the space that I interact with the person. That after a few times that I listen and I interacted, I communicated with Mike, and I feel like under this whole harsh shelf, right? He's somebody who's exuding like love and warmth, right? We're talking about he's a very warm person. And Lincey, you have mentioned that when you were at certain times, right, that you needed a little bit shoulders to lean on, and Michael and I were there, right? So if I was warm, then wouldn't Michael be warm as well, right? He's there. Among all other people might or may not notice that that's the time that you need that he was there. So I think, to me, I think Michael presents himself as this very harsh, very like hard-shelled person who kind of almost curse people, degrades other people, using those enemy, using tyrant, using those very, very controversial words. He understands that the intensity behind it, the intention behind it, to me, it's very warm. It's about love. It's about lean on me. It's about, if you pass my test, I can be someone who you can trust. So that's why I say that he's actually pretentious, right? So of course the warmth and reliability comes after, because once you tear apart that shell, that you get to know him, I feel like, no, to be very honest, in another way, that you have this, to me, at least from what I know, right, that you have certain abilities in terms of taking care of yourself, taking care of your family and your friends. So if I were in China, let's say, or in your part of the world, and I'm running into trouble, right, I, among all the 网路 friends, right, 网路朋友, Michael would be the one who's in the forefront of my head. And I'll say, you know what? This is the problem that I'm facing. I don't have current solutions right now. I would love to listen to what Michael has to say, and then maybe enlist Michael's help to do it, right? So that's something that I will actually do, So that's my impression of Michael. Pretentious, warm, and reliable. And shifting to Lincey, I know it sounds like a love fest, right? But to Lincey, I actually only have one word for you after I've known you for a while. Especially now, you came into this Douyin world and my world at the right time, where I was having my child, right? When my child was born, and my daughter was born. And I feel like after so many years of knowing you, communicating you, I feel like you are almost another, like a virtual daughter. I know
Daddy?
It sounds very weird, right? Right. I know you call Michael daddy, but in my world, you are more like my daughter. Not that in a way you are not wise, or I just feel like you have a lot of needs that I can help fulfill, right? Not that I don't have to be there all the time, but I feel like there are certain things that you need that I can provide, and it's not really of much of my effort, right? So, and I feel like for some reason I'm willing to provide that. And that is my biggest impression, is not who you are, but it's who you are to me. You know, I think about it, like being a daughter, it's not about, oh, you have to be this way to qualify to be my daughter, right? There's no qualification. You just are, right? So in a way, I look at you and I just say, okay, this is what Lincey does. This is what Lincey is about to do, or about to experience. I just observe, right? I observe and I see, okay, maybe she needs help here and there. Maybe she just needs a listening ear. She needs a shoulder to lean on, or like a podcast. And, you know, the moment you mention it, I say, yeah, let's do it. I don't know what's coming out of this at the end, right? But it's an experience. It's an experience that you wanted to do, and I'm here to support, right? I feel like it's not, you know, although we've only recorded 5 episodes so far, but I think you've known that my objective is not to give you any pressure, but to let you experience this. And once you experience it, then you tell me what it's about. So that's my impression. You're my daughter. And here comes my son.
Yeah. Hi,
I thought your
Alex.
background was fake until that door opened.
Okay, at this moment, Mark's son Alex just entered the room, and we just had a little game going on here.
You two actually make me feel really warm at the same time. I think that I kind of identify with everything you guys said about me or each other, and that I think that's actually quite rare. It's not very common that we have a version of each other that we're actually comfortable with. I'm not sure about now that I'm thinking about it, watching his children around. Yeah, I should take back that serial killer suspicions.
Yes,
Yeah.
you should. Well, when you actually see somebody is too good to be true, according to Mark's theory, you have to believe first, right? You have to listen to it. You have to observe it. You have to watch it first. And then after
Well, I don't think you have to believe. I don't think you have to believe that they are the best or they are good or bad. I think you just have to be open. You just have to be empty cup. Like I know that at the very beginning people say like you are innocent until you're proven guilty or whatever, that you should always trust the goodness of the people. I think that's what people say, but I don't believe in that either. I don't believe people are bad, but I don't believe people are good. People just are people, right? So when somebody, a new person come onto a mic or enter into my life, I'm just going to be an empty cup. I'm just going to see first, right? That's just see first. He or she is neither good nor bad. It's just him, you know. I think that's when you say I'm open-minded, I fully accept and take it as a compliment, because I think I am open. Yeah, I am open. I think I like to be open.
I think also you mentioned when you're talking about Lincey, there's an experience. Both of you were talking about judgment. Mark trying to present this way that, okay, Lincey, let's not be judgmental too soon. I do think that's part of human nature to be judgmental, because we all have experience. We all have our past. We do want to categorize everything, or everybody comes into our life new. We tend to do that. That's human nature. But I agree with Mark that that's not necessarily helpful. Hold your judgment. Let them be, right? We usually have this very lazy sentence saying, Michael is knowledgeable, right? Or Mark is a very warm person. I think what Mark trying to tell us is that just let Michael be. So Michael is enough, right? Lincey is enough. You are enough. You are enough. So that applies to a projection to new friends and person. Just let them be. They are what they are or who they are. we don't have to put them in a category of your own too soon.
How do you describe yourself, Michael? How do you describe yourself?
Cautious, loving. I do have a lot of love. Curious, and I like to say that I think I'm an open person. I'm quite open to people and new things, and that falls back to what we're talking about, curiosity. I'm very, very curious.
Do you think that you describe yourself as a very able person? Like you mentioned about problem solving, about me, right? So do you think that that's my impression of you, like from what your description is. So you're not just a talker, but you're a doer as well. Do you think of yourself as that?
I remember years ago when my nephew it was younger, as a teenager, he one day all of a sudden, out of the blue, said that, "Uncle, you kind of find a problem and then try to figure it out with all of us together. That's kind of cool." That's how my nephew as a teenager sees me, and I remember after all this year, that is probably a good description of me. I believe nothing is impossible, even though that sounds a little cliche. Particularly at work and relationship, I do think the only thing that I have to figure out is, do I want it or not? Do I want this to move on or not? Do I want this to be solved or not? And I'm very accepting of ending anybody or ending any relationship or any jobs. I hardly hesitate wrapping things up with somebody, wrapping things up at work. So maybe decisive is the word I would choose.
Mm,
So the
I
crazy
like that.
question mark. If you were to have a superpower in this world and you're not responsible for any kind of consequences, what kind of superpower you would like to have and why?
That's for me, right?
Yeah, that's for you.
Yes.
The ability to fly. The reason is that I do have recurring dreams since I was a kid, and that's probably the best feeling I ever had, still better than sex, when I fly in my dream. That's why.
A pilot certificate would do the job, I guess.
Yeah, I like that.
Right?
So why
I
didn't you
told
get a pilot
you,
certificate? Or did you?
when I was living on the East Coast, I think the local requirement was about 22 hours or 20 hours of flying lessons before I move away. So yeah, I'd like to continue that if when it's available. Yeah, but it's very different when your body flying or
Right.
flying in a machine. That's quite different.
Right.
Mm. Yeah, this is Michael.
I think we got to know Michael a little bit in terms of a personal aspect. We hope that Michael will join us again in a very near future and revealing him like onions layer by layer. So stay tuned, and we'll see Michael very soon, and we'll see everybody very soon.
See you guys. Bye bye.
See
Bye
you.
bye.